Stop the friggin' presses. That neck with the ugly seam actually twists. That is a separate piece in there. Bum 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 bum, Mr. Sandman, feed me some cream. Make it the biggest and veiniest thing. Hello friends, today we have the Marvel Legends Sandman on the retro card, the revamped on a human-sized body from Hasbro. You get a little read up, a stupid looking picture here. Let's get a gallery of all the toys, man. That was a big part of the package appeal for me. Doesn't matter, it's garbage now because we're gonna tear into it. Crap comes crashing right out, and here he is in the plastic looking pissed. Alright, and here we have Flint Marko, or Billy Baker, the Sandman. A dude who's actually made out of sand, can turn into sand, shape himself into things out of sand because radiation, the magical plot device of the 1960s. This figure is looking really solid. Extra hands, heads, and so on. Getting right in there, you see this all this crazy hair. What is that hair? I always wondered. It's just some way that they were drawing hair, some hip way to do it. Comic books. It was a fairly new gig, I think, and so people would just draw hair like that. And I don't know if they had any idea how that was supposed to look on a real person in real life. But anyway, no, it looks great. Sculpted really nicely here. He's got quite the seam right there in the center of his neck, though. That's a bit disconcerting. Whatever. Wearing this nice striped shirt. We have seen this before. This is the Hydroman body, though he does have these nice new pinless arms. That is pretty kicking on these double-jointed elbows. Coming down here, shirt sleeves sort of cuffed up, but it looks like it wasn't like a full-length sleeve anyway. Maybe it was. I feel like I'm remembering it drawn as full-length sleeves sometimes. But he's pushing them up. He's a tough guy. Tough guy in the 1960s. Gonna tune you up, bud. Give me the straight dope, you'd say. And you weren't talking about drugs. Look at this. Got this nice crotch seam on the pants. Coming down here, again, some reuse. So we do have pins on the legs, which is whatever. Sculpted pockets. And these stripes are just painted, but there are nice sculpted wrinkles in the shirt. That is really nice. There was an earlier iteration, the Build-A-Figure Sandman, that I have in pieces, in packages. I never opened all of those figures, and frankly didn't understand why you had to be 7 feet tall. He's made of sand. He sure could be, but I think it was reuse of the Absorbing Man. That must have come first, right? Nice boots, sculpted, laces, big fat balls in there. Even got a little bit of tread, some stamping there, but that's not enough because we got to have letters right here, a bunch of meaningless nonsense. This ends up here in the hands of the end user. It's for somebody else, but it ends up in our hands. And what's the point? You know what I'm saying? Garbage. It's because they love us so much. Anyway, I think this thing looks great. And I like the height. He's supposed to be 6'1". Just a couple inches taller than Spider-Man. Not feet. Not a measure of feet. But again, shape-shifting. Sandman. Jumping into the articulation, he is pretty standard and not in a bad way. You get this head on a hinge, ball and a hinge. You can hinge way back here for looking up, tuning you up, threatening people, looking down, way more than he would need to. That's great. Tucked into that chest, keep your chin tucked. Shoulders, ball jointed. They almost look like they're built to pop out, but I'm not going to yank on them. You could of course boil them a minute and then pull all that apart, rotate all the way around, come up all the way, 90. Bicep cut here. Big swollen buys. And that nice double jointed pinless elbow. It will come all the way up to here. Some paint slop there. What are you going to do? What, stop buying the toys? Then everyone else would buy them up anyway, and they'd be $1 million and you wouldn't have one. That's just how this goes, and they know that. Fists seem a little small compared to the arm, but I'm sure these little fists are reuse. Get an ab crunch here. Comes down, comes back a little bit. And a waist twist. Shirt is covering that belt line nicely. Where does he find these? He's just a tall guy. Thighs are on a peg here with an upper thigh cut that'll rotate all the way around, and a double jointed knee. It comes back pretty impressively. Down here at the ankle, this boot will come back a little bit, but it runs into the pants. Forward a good bit though. And you do get rocker. Just kind of pivots on that center point. So depending on how you have that hinged, depends on where it's going to pivot. You could ask for calf cuts and butterfly shoulders, but they don't really give out the calf cuts, and the butterfly shoulders are for more unique characters, your Wolverines, your Spider-Mans. So I'm pretty forgiving in that regard, but sure, give us more, man. We always want more, especially as you increase the prices. I don't mean to be negative, but we should expect this with what they did to my precious Marvel Universe line. They kept raising the price, which is natural, but they started taking out articulation until they were just nothing. And now you can spend $10 on those little 5-pointed retro Kenner figures. There's no such thing as Kenner, bro. They never made Marvel figures. They were eaten by Hasbro like over a decade ago. So, you know what I mean? No, not all of you do. That's why I'm saying it. Okay, so Sandy Ramage here comes with some optional effects parts and an extra head with sand effects. I am of the mind that they got the expressions wrong. I mean, you could argue either way, right? But doesn't it just seem like you should have the neutral head expression on the neutral head, and whatever. Maybe he's just keeping his composure while he gets a hole blown through his noggin. These pieces here are really nicely textured, really nicely sculpted. I like that. This is just a pass-through, and then you plug these in. Sadly, they don't have any hinges. There's no articulation on these. They just straight peg in. You see, it just goes right through there. And that head is really nice. And it's fine, but I would prefer the expressions be swapped. But what do you do? Just something was lost in translation, you know? I don't know. So it's like if you try to hinge the fist, it's just going to pop off of there. You big palooka. I'll just balance him with the clubs. Now, this hinge thing is a little less forgivable in light of... I do have some of the BAF parts here. And so you get these, and these are great. They are not compatible, though, because the pegs are much bigger. The color is a little off, but these were still nicely textured. Really cool. I should find those figures and open them and build this sucker just to... Anyway, these are all hinged, though, man. Come on now. You know what I'm saying? You get the nice ball here. So they've already made something very, very similar, and they found a way to put a hinge on it. And it still had that that where it thickens up as you come towards the wrist. Here's an entire arm. God, that's weird looking. Why is that so? Okay, that's just backwards. And you can see size-wise, that's just not compatible. This is just like silly big. Really cool. Obviously, they put some effort into that, and I love that. And this is one of the examples of just generally sweet BAFs as far as what they give you in the sculpt and in the accessories, even if the scale is all wrong. Again, sand, whatever. Pulling all that crap out of frame, though, it looks really nice. I like that color, nice and creamy. Scrappy here stands about 6 7/8, making these Marvel Legends just a hair above their 1/12 scale that they would quote you, which people have long said, and they do creep up in size as we go. It's whatever. It's great. The OCD in me, though, likes that the feet work out to inches and so on. At 6'1", he should just be over 6 inches, but hey. You could be rocking that BAF, and he's like 9 feet tall. 9 guys. 5 guys in your mouth. And maybe my favorite part, the figure comparisons. I spend way too much time here, like hand selecting these characters. Most of them are pulled off of a shelf, and I gotta vanilla them out and then repose and put them back on the shelf afterwards. You know what I mean? I hope you guys appreciate this. T'Challa, Electro, and Venom. What, you thought we were done with that bit? Throwing in some other villains, we have Hydroman, where he takes this body mold from. I love the effects pieces on that. And the super pissed Rhino Baff. Get the head on that, on Mori over there, though. Okay, yeah, I mean, it's not perfect, but he definitely bears a bit of a resemblance to a certain schizophrenic psychopath, does he not? Look at that. Sorry to sort of hijack his review for a minute, but certain angles, man. They used ammonia! None of this is any good! Twist a lemon, sweet and low. What if it was just one guy with 6 guns? How about you let me do the thinking, genius? Here he is with a couple iterations of Spider-Man, movie and comic. Okay, and here he is with a couple of Avengers, the 80 Years Thor and the Cap Wolf Cap. You can see he is a little taller than that Captain America, and I think the new Captain America is a little taller than that. Where does the size creep end? And then the Man with Sand next to the Jazzwares Spartan with Sword and McFarlane Toys Batman with Guns. Finishing up the comparisons with some old friends here, I think for me this really sells that body as the right height for this character. Sandman in his typical human form is supposed to be 6'1". Spider-Man is like 5'10", and computer, how tall is Deadpool?
Deadpool is 6 feet 2 inches tall.
Meh, you know what I mean? Bucky Cap body, and he's wearing slippers. What are you gonna do? Okay, so I don't mean to drink too much of the Kool-Aid, but OCD guy here likes his figures to scale properly and likes them to maintain a similar aesthetic. And you know what? You're gonna get that with reuse. I'm not necessarily the guy to cram selects into his Legends display either, because again, the size and the aesthetic. I have that Juggernaut. I bought that way back because I loved that thing. Did that for a minute, but he straight looks like he's made out of leather. He's better in a lot of ways than the Legends version say, but I do like how clean it looks. It just, by way of example, back to talking about this Sandman toy. I like this. My opinion is partially skewed. I did not open or complete that Build-A-Figure, but I was predisposed to dislike him already because it is just another gigantic absorbing man and ball-jointed thighs or whatever, legs. Why that? Why that? He's got really nice sculpting and texture, and I love the color on these unique sand pieces. It could absolutely be more. I do feel like they've mixed up the heads, the facial sculpts, or they should just put them back. Put them back, bro. What's with the haircut? That's nitpicking the design of the character anyway. What is that hair? Does he have like an afro? And it's like, are they cornrows? I always struggled with what is going on top of his and Norman Osborn's heads. Do you know what I mean? What if they tried to do that to Willem Dafoe's hair? What would that look like? I think this is a good example of reuse. So there is a select floating around that I do think looks fantastic and has like the leg effect. I would love that. I think this is a good spot for that. I know people were pissed about the cannonball, but when I look over there, my cannonball is sure displayed on the shelf with that blasting off effect. X-Force pack to arrive any day now. But the head sculpt is nicely detailed. We get pinless arms, we get an extra head, and we get power effects. Stuff like that for me is really are the biggest things that I'm after. Of course, we always want more accessories, more articulation. But at the regular price or whatever, right? That's what this was. The regular price is now $23. They've been $20 for a decade now. So you know what I mean? That's not the end of the world, especially when imports, and you can't even get an import Sandman figure, but imports are 5, 6, 7, 8 times the price. We were going into like a song there. Everything doesn't have to be a song, bro. I would give this dude a 4 out of 5. It is yet another case of me liking it even more out of the package. Sitting there looking at him on the card looks nice. I could be happy to just tack him to the wall and live with it. But he looked just a little limp in that package to me. This looks great. Probably I'll display him something akin to this. I don't need to like take apart someone's arm and put it through his head. I think that looks kind of silly. That's more like, I don't know, it's whatever you want it to be. They're toys. Use your imagination. But not really because you have the toy. Not even mad. Thanks for sticking around, guys. Leave a like. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Tell your friends. Hold your grandmother down and make her subscribe. Love you guys. Happy holidays. Girl, I'm finna cure that ass.
I got fingers on my lips, toys that I'm touching, I don't want to put them down, instead I want to talk about them, yes, fresh. Smell the plastic that I crave, I want to shop, I can't be having Bruce Banner. I'm Dr. Rubber Band, I'm Bruce Jenner. And you can call me after dinner, we can talk comic books, but we're here to talk toys, be proud, make noise.